What's up, y'all? I was so late getting home last night that I couldn't do my regular live, and unlike most people, I'm a old lazy man and don't want to go out on St. Patty's Day. I have a gig tomorrow, so tonight went and ran and got some parts. UPS screwed up and didn't send me my carburetor for the Buick, so back here I am. I thought, what a Irish Outlaw Garage does a live on St. Patty's Day. Why not? Who we all got in here? Well, what's going on, Big Block? Stephen Holes, One-Eyed Cat, Colleen, Unfinished Project. Hey, welcome. We got everybody. I know I see some other people in there. Oh, there's Dan. Somebody's lapping valves. I saw that. And that's like my least favorite thing to do, but it's something I like to do myself because it's cheaper. Straight pipes are calling. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that. You named him Bronson, huh? That's pretty cool. Well, see, that's the thing there, Dean. The name Bonnie is actually Scots Irish, and I think that's like the, my Bonnie lies over the ocean, all that crap. And that's actually oh boy. Look at this. Oh, God.
The bone into you.
That's not fair. And you Canadians got kind of the accent. You can throw that out there. Yeah. The whole Bonnie thing, I named my cars just out of nowhere. I really had no reason to call it Bonnie other than for some reason it just hit me that this car needs to be named Bonnie. And I had a friend say, well, that's actually Scottish. And I said, Scots Irish. There's a difference. And he's like, well, you're kind of splitting hairs. I said, well, I didn't name the car to be, either or. Just some reason it hit me, Bonnie the Buick. Bonnie meaning beautiful, pretty, because it is not. I mean, it is really gorgeous how it looks right now, but,
That is an awesome car, man. I'm glad you got it. I'm glad you picked it up.
Well, I went to go get parts for it today. I got a radiator yesterday, or day before yesterday. Went out and test fitted it. Perfect fit. So I'm like, all right, carburetor's supposed to be in. I got all my brake parts. Everything's in. Get to O'Reilly's, and of course, the carburetor is a Tomco Reman, which they're fine. Used to have them all the time. I could just as easily put a Edelbrock on this thing, but why? It's all original under that hood, so why not keep it with the Carter and all that stuff on it? And I could probably rebuild the one that's on it. I just, I don't know. I decided I was just going to keep that on her. Plus, it's cheaper. It's a lot cheaper.
Well, you don't know what you just want to get it home right now, right? So the easiest thing to do, get the stuff you need to get it home, and then you can always, like you said, rebuild it afterwards and everything else.
Well, spoiler alert, it's here. And the reason it is because I have gigs every freaking weekend almost, and I have work, and this car had to be out of that storage unit by the 31st. And there was no way I was going to be able to get everything together. And it's funny because I went to get the carburetor and it was supposed to be in Wednesday. No, UPS screwed up. Guess what? It's coming in next Wednesday now. So it is what it is. I got so much crap going on out here. I got the Pontiac. I just kind of fitted the new fuel tank underneath it, and it's not the right fuel tank, but it's going to work. And then because that gets put back on the road here in a week and a half, it'll be licensed and insured and driving. But I won't be driving it. Amber will be driving it, so I can't get blamed. And then the Javelin, I got to rebuild I got to either find another rear end and redo it and put it in there, or I'm going to have to I don't know. That car's going on power tour, and I've only got 3 months.
Well, the Javi really got into the Irish spirit.
Yeah.
And that was nice green mist coming out of that.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't wait for everybody to see that. That was something else. And I didn't plan all that. I had one guy he mentioned on there. He's like, if this is you on top of your game, I'd hate to see you on your worst day. And I said, and I turned and I looked at Amber and I said, how many times have I done this out here? We're talking since me and her have been together 10 years. And those 10 years, I've probably done that at least 12 or 15 times. That is the first time that I'm filming a cam break in that everything just went wrong. But I mean, it's fine. It turned out fine. It was just, one damn thing after. And it was stupid. I didn't have the cap on. You either don't have it on or it's all the way. And I had it like on the first click. I forgot that I was letting air, escape it. And
the air bubble in the air. Yeah. That's all good, man. That's how my cam break-ins usually go. Just so you're aware. That's
what's that?
That's how mine usually go. Just so you're aware. Yeah.
See there, Dean. A lot of people tried to tell me that my neighbor's a big 8.8 swapper and everything. Guess what? The 8.8 does not swap worth a damn in that Javelin. What does is an 8 3/4 Mopar out of a late 60s, early 70s dart. It'll go right in there. In 8.8, you actually have to shorten the tubes. It don't fit perfect align. They don't work. I've talked to a whole bunch of people on that, a whole bunch of AMC people, even the ones that hate me. And they all said the same thing. You need to get the Dodge 8 3/4. All you got to do is move your purchase just a little bit, and it'll fit right in there. You don't have to move nothing. Same bolt pattern. The length and everything is about perfect. So, yeah, everybody always goes to the 8.8, but then they don't work in these Javelins very well. My understanding, anyway. I've never done one. But the guy that I'm getting all the rest of my AMCs off of, he used to race them religiously. And he said that's the only thing that will pop right in. You don't have to change nothing on the tubes, the axles, nothing.
Well, that Dodge corporate rear end is pretty decent anyway. So, it's a good rear end.
I've got one here not too far from me that I can go grab, and I just have to swap out my little thing I just bought. I got a video coming out on that too. I used Power Tracks has this no slip. It's a quiet one that's built more for a car, and I got one and put it in, and it, like I said, I got a video coming out for it, but that rear end was shot. The only thing I don't like about this rear end that he's got, it's got I think he said 278 or 287 gears, and mine has 315s. And I don't want to get all change-o, switch-o. I don't want to do all that crap. I just want to get it, stick it in. It just so happens I buy all the weirdest cars. This Buick.
Well, congratulations on completing the trifecta.
Yeah. I've got all 3 of them now. BOPs. There's my kid. You should go on here live, Skylar. You'd probably have a ball instead of playing your video games all damn day.
Oh, that's what my kid's doing too, playing video games.
Yeah. 6% cycle. What's up?
Oh, big block. You're right. There's silver under here. Quite a bit of it.
I mean, damn.
So no, that was cool watching you go take a look at the car and do the walk around, and I could hear you okay, even though you're driving Blanche. It was all good.
Yeah, I made another investment yesterday. I ordered microphones. I ordered wireless.
That's something I need too.
And the reason I wouldn't do it, other than the fact that my new camera picks up everything. and I live right next to a highway. Right. So the cars way the hell behind me, like 100 yards behind me, are louder than me talking. So I got to constantly do the noise gate stuff, and then I sound like I got an echo. And it's like, I can't take this no more. So, and I'm a, half-ass sound engineer. And I'm like, I can't take this no more. So I went ahead and ordered it. It's a 2-pack of the actual lavalier, not the big-ass bulky.
Right, yeah.
The ones that have the cord that go down, and it's just a little lavalier. I'm like, lavalier? Is that I don't even know. Scott, how the hell do you say that?
Well, I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's lava. I don't know. It's one of them things that hook to your shirt and does the stuff.
Right, exactly. Well, you can't ask me because I'm Canadian and I pronounce everything differently anyway. So
yeah, yeah, you do everything in them millimeter things.
Yeah, exactly.
And
centimeters and all sorts of meter things.
My kid makes money playing video games, and how come I had to order the door handles for the Mustang? What's up, Buster Radio? Lavalier. Lavalier?
Lavalier.
It's one of them lavaliers. That's how you say it, ain't it, Scott? Lavalier? It's one of them lavalier lights. He's from Nashville, Memphis, that area.
Yeah. So what are you going to do with the roof on the car? Are you going to use the other car's roof or are you going to try to take it all out?
I'm going to try to sell the other car to a racer that wants to put it on a tube chassis.
Okay.
And I'll sell it cheap. Yeah. It's actually worth a good penny, but I'll sell it cheap because I got no use for it. And it's what I'm going to do is probably have to use what I always call, my dad called a rosebud on the torch. That it's a big end, and I'm going to heat that roof up as much as I can, and I'm going to try to get something clamped on it just to yank it out.
Sure.
Because if you're, it's hard to see it on camera, but if you're looking at the roof, you can tell that the van was headed like this. Like, say, here's your roof. You're looking at me. It came across like this. Right. So I think if I heat that up and I clamp something on there good enough and use like a come along or a slide hammer or something, it won't be perfect. But as long as I get that close enough, and maybe I can add some metal to the windshield to go on. And then I'll just fill the hole with like spray foam or something.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'll straighten it out well enough that it's not going to go crazy on you.
Well, but, I'm sure you'll get a little bit of hate from some of the diehard GS guys, but
I'm already getting it.
Yeah, I figured.
I didn't think anybody could be worse than AMC or the
diehard.
It's the professional car with the ambulance. These guys are like, there's only like 3,600 of those made. Yeah, I did my research. I know that. Well, there's only like 1,000 left on the road. Okay, yeah. Well, that thing needs to be restored. I had a guy offer me money for it already.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I know a guy that we can bring that to, and he'll completely restore it. And then I said, and then you can go throw it in one of your automotive auctions that you guys use for a tax write-off and to launder money. No. People like me are going to be driving this car the rest of its life. It's not going to something like that.
That's what we're all about. I think most of us are that way. The people we hang out with is we like to enjoy our cars. That's why we have them. Yeah. I mean, there are a couple cars that I don't drive as much as some of my other ones, and I've tried to keep them a little more pristine. But
it irritated me the way he said it too. Like, what are you doing with that? You should give that, that same old line. And I'm like, this car was on Facebook Marketplace. Why weren't you looking for it then? Why am I out there saving the thing?
Yeah.
And I'm glad I am, or somebody like you or these guys here are doing it. Because me or you, in 10 years, you'll never touch one of these cars. if you don't have them now. They're going to go so high, and everybody's, I mean, Dalton does that thing as crackheads on Facebook, you know.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's like, no, there really are out there. That one K5 Blazer sold for like $87,000 or $100,000, right? At 0 miles on a fresh, complete frame off rebuild. Next day, I see 3 K5 Blazers, rustier than any car I have, $7,000.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like,
well, you guys. See, you're absolutely right. And the funny part is I grew up with $500 cars.
Yeah.
Right. You go out, you could buy a running driving car for $500. Maybe you have to put a little bit of work into it, but it was a runner, it was a driver, and away you went. You can't anymore. Like $2,500 is what you're spending to get anything that'll drive on the road almost.
I had 3 cars when I was 16, paid for them all myself. I had a 66 Mustang, a 79 CJ7 Jeep, and a 83 Fox body Mustang GT it was the hatchback. That was a former cop car. All 3 were mint condition cars. I paid $1,500 for the Fox body, $1,000 for the Mustang, the 66, and I paid $800 for the CJ7. You couldn't touch any of those cars right now for less than $10,000 for all 3 of them.
Yeah,
in that kind of shape, and that's if you're lucky. There ain't no way.
I think the first car I bought was my Parisienne. I bought it off my dad, so that doesn't really count because he sold it to me for $1. But that was my grandpa's car, and then it was his car, then it was my car, and now it's my son's car. And we got to fix it up. The first car I bought with my own money, I think, was, or at least some of my money, was the 71 Ford Custom 500. And that was a big land yacht, that thing. And I don't remember what I paid for that. I think it was around $1,000, but that thing was mint. 351 Windsor. It was a beautiful car.
Right.
It was big land yacht, but it was just mint. And then I think after that it was my 78 Trans Am. So now I still have 2 of those cars. I have the Parisienne and I have the Trans Am. And the 78 Trans Am, I bought that for, I think it's $2,500. It was about 10 years old at the time.
Wow.
And it was, it might have been a little bit old, but it is around 10 years old, yeah. So, but it was, besides the paint being faded, that thing was perfect. The interior was perfect. The body was perfect on it. There was no rust. He had already done all the rust repairs and all that. And it was just the paint was a little faded on it. And that was the only thing wrong with that car when I bought it.
Wow.
But even if you find one nowadays that's rusted out and 400 4-speed car, good luck, man. You're paying $2,500 for a basket case.
My first Trans Am was a 79 4-speed car.
Yeah.
It was originally a 301, but somebody had swapped in a 400.
Okay. And did you a favor? Yeah.
Yeah. I got a picture of it somewhere. Actually, that boy right there, the disaster piece, he was brought home from the hospital in that car.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when he was born, he was brought home from the hospital in that car. His mom, my ex-wife, she had a Plymouth Acclaim.
Oh, I remember those.
And when I was coming, I said, "All right, I'll be up to pick you up in a little bit." And she thought I was going to drive that Acclaim up there. Nope. Showed up in Trans Am. She's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "My boy's going home for Trans Am. I ain't going up here and say, hey, son, you know what? We was so awesome. Your dad's so awesome. I brought you home in a Plymouth Acclaim."
Yeah.
That had no paint on the front fenders and oversized tires that rubbed the fenders.
Well, you know what disaster just became to me now? He's now Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. No, he is no Ricky Bobby. Don't give him any credit.
No. Okay. Not a Ricky Bobby, eh?
That would have been me. I was
Yeah,
that guy. My dad
yeah.
would always complain about how I drove and all that, and then his friends would tell me how he was, and he'd get pissed at them for telling me how he was.
Well, I know how my dad drove, and because he told me his own stories, and
Yes.
including the one where he jumped his square body off a loading dock.
All right, son, you can go ahead and, you know, do your selfless promotion on my page. I don't care.
Yeah, the Bandit TAs are nice cars. They're pretty awesome. Like I'm just a huge Trans Am fan. I love
Oh, I
the
am
Trans
too.
Am, and I've been fortunate enough to be around quite a few of them. Now, would I love to own a '69 convertible manual original Trans Am? Yes. Would I ever drive it? No. So what I would rather do is have a clone of one,
Yeah.
and even if even heaven forbid if I put an LS in it, I prefer to have the Pontiac. But I mean, right now I've got a '69 Trans Am, well, '69 Firebird that we will be doing a Trans Am, turning into a Trans Am.
Yeah.
For that reason, it's just so we can go enjoy the car, right? We don't need the original Trans Am because someone will always be out there. Whoa, what are you doing driving that
Oh, I
car?
know.
Like you said, right? It's ridiculous.
I had a Firebird that was converted too. I mean, I don't care. They're just neat cars. It don't matter. When I was a kid, in the towns that I grew up in, to get to where I live now, it's literally 6 miles. Not even that. It's like 5 miles on Route 40. You know, like the main highway through the entire United States. When you come up over this hill and come into Effingham, Illinois, there was this place called Poland, Pontiac, and Buick. And the front line of their entire thing, and you know, I'm a '70s baby. When I was 3 years old, 4 years old, all the way through 1980, whatever it was, 1982, because they had some holdovers from '81. You'd come up that drive, and the whole front row was nothing but Firebirds and Trans Ams,
Oh wow.
all the way through. Every color, the black ones, the black and gold ones, you had to go inside. They kept them in
Yeah.
but I remember the 77, 78. I was 2, 3 years old. My dad would deliver parts for the parts store to Poland Pontiac Buick, and he'd go to the parts section to deliver the parts, and I'd be in the showroom just drooling because
Yeah.
his cars, even the little bitty shit, they're gorgeous. I mean, they're just
Oh yeah.
beautiful cars. And Dad'd be like, "Yeah, you'll never own one of them." 20 years old, signed a check, brought one home. It was
Yeah.
actually sold at Pontiac at Poland's. That's where it came from.
Right on.
But yeah, I've seen them my whole life. There was a bunch of them around here. There still is. There's guys that's got them in their backyards. They're all covered up. We're gonna get to them someday. You know how much that car is gonna be worth in 20 years? Yeah, they ain't gonna be worth nothing because it's gonna be
Yeah,
rusted
rusted into the ground. Yeah, exactly.
and they use crappy blue tarps, so it just collects moisture underneath and
It just makes it worse.
got a Swiss cheese roof.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. You look at what Dalton did with his truck.
Yeah.
The last video that's insane. The amount of work that guy gets done. And it doesn't matter if he just hacks it in there. At least he's out there enjoying the truck, and that's exactly where you are as well. You maybe not quite to that level, but you just get it back on the road, enjoy the vehicle.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to me and Zeppy are headed to our salvage yard early morning. I got a gig tomorrow night, but I want to get up and go over there. I got to look for some stuff for this damn Buick. So I went ahead and asked him what he needed. I'm going to try to find him a door and the damn inner fender well for that truck. Because I got to go back over there here pretty soon. I got to go get that's another one, the reason I can't get up there and get that car the 31st. I got to get all that stuff back to him, and
Right.
grab a few things because we ain't gonna have neither one of us are gonna have a whole lot of time. He's gonna be busy as hell, and I'm gonna be busy as hell. So it's just
Well, I wish I was busy on cars, but I'm busy with personal life matters right now. But I'll get
oh
back
yeah,
on the cars soon. It's coming. I'm still working on the Mach 1, so I'm gonna get that out, and then I'll be picking up my new project, which is a 1980 Monte Carlo.
ooh,
So
is that
just
the
waiting for.
350 car or a 305?
Well, it was originally a 305 car, I think, but it's got a 350 in it. But the guy says the engine's no good in it, and I know the rear frame rails are rotten, but the body is just mint on this thing. So I decided to pick it up anyways because you can buy the rear frame rails for those things from
Yeah,
somebody. You know,
I
it's
had a
600.
Monty, I had a '79
Yeah,
out here for a while. I pulled out of the woods, got it running. It was the Buick. Damn it, what size V6 was that?
well, that 3.8 liter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
had the Buick motor in it. I got it running. It sat for 30 years. Like, I mean, literally sat for 30 years. I got it running out here. But it was a little further gone than I wanted to deal with. And the guy wanted it. He was going to use the body because the outside was good.
yeah,
Frame was garbage. And it's same thing, rear frame rails,
rear frame rails. Yeah, that's pretty common on those things. So it's nice that you like. I mean, I can go order them off of Summit for $600 Canadian.
Yeah,
So whatever that is, American, like a case of beer or something like that. But
probably.
yeah,
At
and that's both.
least, at least old Milwaukee.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Might be in some of that fancy beer, but
Yeah, yeah. You start, you get up there into your 1,200 and 1,500 Canadian, then you might be getting up into, like, maybe Bud Light.
yeah, the Bud Light. Yeah, we're not quite in the Heineken territory yet. Or
No,
no,
no Rolling Rock.
no.
No.
But I really wanted a G body Grand Prix, but I'm not going to be too fussy. The Monty was a good price, and it's a $700 car Canadian. So
I had an 86 Grand Prix. The frame was black, but the body, like the floors and all that crap, it was completely gone. The windshield was broke out of it, so like your firewall and all your pillars and I was going to do something with me. A guy bought it from me up in Champaign. He come down and got it. Was making a drag car out of it. I never did check back with him, see what he was going to do with it, but yeah.
well, and that'd be nice if I could find something like that because, like you said, the body on this thing is just
Yeah.
mint, right? And it'd be great to find one of a rusted body, great frame, and just swap the body onto it. And well, like you said, backup plan is just buy the frame rails and replace them. Not a big
Yep.
deal.
Hell, they wouldn't be too bad to do either.
No, I don't think that would be too bad getting on the backside because you can probably undo those rear mounts and even lift the body up a bit, and you wouldn't have to even take the body completely off. I don't think.
Yeah. I don't know. I always liked the SS Monte Carlos.
Those were cool. Yeah, I like those.
I don't know why. They were just a cool looking car,
Well, I always thought so. Yeah, I mean, I like the Grand Nationals too, of course, but I almost prefer the SS Monte Carlos that
Mhm.
the mid '80s. They were pretty neat looking.
That and I
And,
like the 442 Hearst Olds.
yep.
Those are great looking cars. And I had a friend that had a damn Grand National, and he would call, "Hey, what's this? What's this? What's this? Why is it doing this? What's this?" I said, "Hey,
I don't know.
no." I said, "You need to get a hold of Buick back then. That pulling Paul. You need to get a hold of him, have him work on it. I don't know nothing about it." I went up there. Nobody up there knows how to work on them. Well, what makes you think I'm going to be able to work on them?
Yeah. Well, the biggest problem with those things were the brakes.
Oh,
it was horrible
brakes
system on those things.
and the emission system.
Yeah.
Every time I turn around to check engine light, and then nothing would work right because that computer thing they had in, if it didn't have this perfect little thing, it would shut her down,
Yep. Yep.
And I don't know. I'd almost rather have just a regular old Buick Regal and put a big ass engine in it.
Well, that's exactly where I am, and that's why I picked up this Monty, right? Is I want to play with the G body a little bit and have a full frame car and have a little bit of fun with it because they're so simple. They're dead simple cars. So easy. You can stuff whatever small block in there and LS swap and whatever you want to do, right? And all the parts available. Yeah. Very easy to work on.
They're not fun with a big block in them. Found that out.
No, I wouldn't go big block.
You couldn't get nothing in it.
I've really never been much of a big block person myself. So I was always Pontiac, right? And Pontiac's Pontiac. It's not a big or small block. So,
yep. Yeah, I liked. I was saying somebody said it the other day again, and I said it. Well, now I've got all three the BOPs. Buick, Olds, and Pontiac.
Yeah.
But then I was telling Amber, I said, not really, I don't. You have a Pontiac.
Yes, this is true. And
I only had an Olds and a Buick, so I still need to find a Pontiac. No,
you want to get technical.
Yeah.
Then technical.
No more cars.
You have to get.
I brought her up there with me when I was filming that. She was there.
Yeah.
And that was a rough one. I didn't get talked to all the way home. Well, it's pretty rough. It still ain't as rough as that damn ambulance was.
Yeah. Yeah.
The ambulance, at least this one, I hooked my cheap ass Menards winch to, and it pulled her up on a trailer. Hers, we had to use a friggin' log skidder.
Yeah.
It was all locked up. The Olds even pulled on a trailer. It wasn't even locked up.
Well, I'm gonna throw a little wrench in your plan here because technically, if you want to have the complete set, you got to go get yourself a caddy as well.
I don't need no caddies
because they actually did use the same bell housing pattern.
Oh yeah. I just poor man's Cadillac guy.
Okay, that's fine. Yep.
Poor old honky thinks it's a Cadillac.
Yep.
That's me. I don't know. If I had to, it'd have to be the biggest damn thing you ever saw in your life. Like a 69 or a 70 Coupe de Ville, hard top. Something ridiculous. That I could put some 28s on.
Yeah, that'd be pretty ridiculous.
Maybe a Golf 70.
Like normally people drop those to the ground, not put them
up. Raise her up on those great big and I'd go ultra 90s. I'd have spinners on the wheels.
Yeah, nice. And
curb feelers.
Bringing us back to Dalton and his crackhead or crack meth, whatever that is. He actually showed one. What the heck was it? He did find one that was on 28 last night. I was like, oh man, that is nasty. Like it's got a little rubber strip going around a metal wheel, basically. Like that's not even a tire on it by that time. There's nothing there.
But I did see one during one of the hurricanes or something. There was this huge flood in like Houston or something like that. And it's just this guy's way up in the air in his apartment. He's got the camera going on, and you see this donk just going across the water's barely coming up over.
Nice.
Yeah, everybody said they were crazy till now.
Yeah. Well, it was good to see, but it was really good to see the Javi running though. That was a good video. You did a good job. I keep panicking every time you get on that dang tin though.
What's that?
I keep panicking when you get on that darn tin though, just waiting for you to slip and go down.
Well, you know how many times I had the thing filming and the dogs are just do. I was like, you're either barking or now you're running on my tin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there was a whole video of me driving that car to the back and all that, and dogs wouldn't shut up. All four of them. I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah, it was good to see it moving under its own power again. So
It runs good, but
it sure seemed like it.
I actually got a hold this week. I got a hold of Riley at Riley's Rebuilds because she's in Edelbrock. She can sell them. She even has that 4150 or whatever it is that she can sell. And I said, hey, told her who I was, emailed her, of course, with Irish Outlaw Garage. And she knows the channel, and she goes, I asked her if she had any 500 CFM Edelbrocks, a 1403, and she only has new ones. She don't have any that she can rebuild.
Right.
But she was going to sell it to me for the exact same price as what Summit or anybody else would. And then she asked if I had any Edelbrocks laying around. I actually have two older ones. One's a 1411 and one's a 1405, I think. I can't remember. But she was going to give me $100 a piece for those.
Oh, sweet.
So I'm like, well, guess what, girl? Now I'm just going to start buying my cars from you then.
Well,
At the same price, I'm going to support the small business plus a YouTuber, and I'm just going to support her with it. So I'm going to wait here a couple weeks, and I'm going to order a 500 off of her at 1403 because this one's always been too big for this car.
What's her channel name?
It's Riley's Rebuilds.
Riley's Rebuilds.
She actually just she was on with Dallas and them on a Wednesday Tech Talk once, and she just did a shoot with All Girls Garage. Actually,
oh, really?
She's like 17 or 18 years old.
Oh, she's just young.
Dad has a shop, and she started doing it, and then like she got all her girlfriends together. Now they all do it because they're so busy. She's got an all-girl system where they're all rebuilding these Edelbrock cars.
That's awesome. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great when the young people get involved and get into cars. Brings me some hope.
Not to mention, it's nice to see Edelbrock backing somebody for once.
Yeah.
Instead, it's always Holly with their Chinesium. But yeah.
Well, it's good to see the kids out in the garage and working on stuff. I always like that.
It is. It's like mine over here. Dad, there's something wrong with the Mustang. That's not an exaggeration. That's how he really sounds, too. There's always something. The door handle's been sitting out here in the garage for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Heater core's been in it for over a year, sitting in the back seat. I mean, it's only when I need, he needs something done, he comes to me. Other than that, he don't talk to me. Oh, see, now he's Snapchatting me. So,
is he?
Now he's probably mad.
He's saying he needs an Edelbrock on the Mustang.
Yeah, he did. He thinks that.
He thinks that, eh? Yeah.
Go buy you an Edelbrock and I'll put it on it.
There you go. Sounds like a good deal.
Yeah. He says I need to talk to chat more. I'm watching the chat. Completely watching the chat. All I see is a bunch of guys that normally talk, and it's nice. They're all talking amongst each other. That's good. I read everything. And then I see this weirdo with these weird colored thing on here, Disaster Piece 96, who's done nothing but talk about his gaming and how everybody should pay attention to his Mustang when it's actually mine.
Well, his Mustang does sound pretty good, though.
It does.
Yeah.
You should have heard it before the mufflers got put on it. That is a hell of a story. I actually have that on video, but this is way before YouTube. No, Scott, we do not. I'm small town. You're big city. You tell us. This here.
Donk box and a donk bubble?
Yes. Donk box would be your
like a Caprice or something like that?
Caprice. Yeah. And there's the donk bubble, which would be the bubble Caprices. Around here, we don't do that. Those are the greatest derby cars. Yeah. So anyway, I tell you this story. I got that Mustang motor in. It was this week. How many years ago was it, Skyler? About three or four, probably, maybe more than that now. I get the whole thing in, and I got to make an exhaust system for it, right? Yeah. All I got is a bunch of 2.5-inch pipe coming out of Hedman headers. And I'm like, okay. So I couldn't get it to fit right underneath I switched it from a single exhaust cross member to the dual on those Fox bodies.
Yep.
And even then, it still wouldn't come through that driver's side dual. So I couldn't figure out what to do. I ain't got no benders. I ain't got nothing. So it's got flex pipe going around that. So one of them goes straight through. One's got flex pipe to straighten it out. Nice. I go out to old school cherry bombs, right? And then straight pipes right before the rear tires. That's all it is. Well, before I put those cherry bombs in there, I still had the whole pipe.
Yeah.
And I started it up, and Amber here was out in her building, and I started it up, and I looked over. And I said, "What do you think?" She couldn't hear me. It was so loud because it sounds like a NASCAR sitting there, And she's like, Me and Skyler are like, "Oh yeah." It's already loud as hell. But yeah, I've got all those parts from O'Reilly's right off the shelf, and just kind of built the exhaust. Yeah, I think it is about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all that is. Well, it actually ain't cherry bombs, it's red hots. Or red hots or whatever they got at O'Reilly's.
I don't think we have O'Reilly's up here. I don't even think we have anything like it up here. Like, I mean, we have our car parts stores and stuff. Like, we got our Napas, we've got our parts source, which is kind of like AutoZone, but not really an O'Reilly's. There might be some out east, but not where I am.
Huh. What else do I have? I got those on the Malibu. I got those cheap Chinese knockoff 10-inch Flowmasters on the Cutlass.
Yep.
Oh, that thing sounds amazing. I love the sound of that car.
Yeah, you sometimes you get what I like the ones where it's nice and subdued when you're just cruising.
Yeah.
But when you put your foot in it, then she wraps. But not the Rice Krispie wrap. We're not talking the snap crackle pop. I like that.
Nice I like that. Right? The Walmart rednecks with the straight pipe 1 1/4.
Yeah.
Pops. Well, you hear nothing.
It was funny because my 92 GMC truck, I had the 350 in it, and I'm going into work one day, and what I didn't realize is this, what I think is a power ram actually, had hit a deer, and it knocked the deer over onto the highway, and it was lying right in the lane, but it's dark and you couldn't see it. So by the time I seen it, I ran right over the deer and took the exhaust off my truck, plus knocked off, did a little bit of damage under there. So I went to go get the exhaust fixed, and I took it to the car wash first. I washed it as good as I could. The guy's like, "Can you please take it back to the car wash?" So I do that, and they go, "Well, all we've got is these little, I don't know, they were probably 1 foot mufflers, right? Like the cherry bomb style 1 foot mufflers." I'm like, "Oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna like those." He says, "Well, we'll put them on. If you don't like them, we'll get the other ones on order and we'll put them on free charge." I'm like, okay, fine. So I take the truck, and yeah, that thing was just had that wrap to that nasty high wrap to it. But it was funny is I seen my buddy on one of the main highways going through the city, but he wasn't really paying attention. And I pulled up beside him, and those trucks have the side exit on the exhaust. And I just hammered on it right beside his driver's window and just blew his window out. He just watched. Oh! And then, yeah, got waved at with one finger for a little bit.
That's this here. Tony's talking about these orange peelers. That's what's on Blanche.
Oh, is that what's on Blanche?
That is the glass packs that are in those pipes. They're orange peelers.
Okay.
That's what's actually in her. And then B&R, these Borla XS, that's what I have a set of those out in the garage. They came off of my Malibu. They're like brand new, but they were for that car. They just didn't. It wasn't there. Now some cars I've heard those on. That's what I used to break in my 455 and my olds. They sound pretty good on there, but I went with a lot bigger exhaust than what I got. Those are 2.25s, and I put 2.5s. Not to mention they're like $130 a damn, or $200 a damn muffler.
Yeah,
I keep it cheap. Chinese, ultra Chinesium Amazonian. That's what I use.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I mean, because you look at a lot of these exhaust systems, I just can't justify spending $1,500 on an exhaust system, or $2,000 or $2,500. It's a lot of money for what it is. It's literally dealing with the waste. Yeah, it makes the car sound good, and if you get it right, but when you do the Chinese stuff for a tenth of the cost almost.
I was gonna put headers on the Javelin, and the more I thought about it, that's the original exhaust on that car. That is the original exhaust that came on that car in 1974. It's only got 60-some thousand miles on it. Believe it or not, it is. All the welds are factory. It's old school, and I would have to cut that, so far back, and then it probably wouldn't sit just right because it ain't made for those. Right. And then I really started thinking about it. I was like, no matter what I do to this 304, it's still a 304. Headers are going to give me like 2 to 5 horsepower on a car that only has 125 out of the box. Yep. So I'm gaining. Why not just throw a 50 shot on it to gain that?
Well, that's it exactly, right? Like the expensive exhaust certainly has its place, and if you can afford it, fill your boots. But the average guy, that's a ton of money for what it is.
Here's another thing about headers that upsets me. I just watched a damn YouTuber tonight do this because I saw it on Engine Masters where they beat headers to fit certain things. They said it did not matter how you did that. Okay. If not, why am I putting headers on the damn thing and not just leaving the damn manifolds on it because they restrict it just that bad?
Yeah.
And I get in an argument about this with people all the time. And I said, the reason Engine Masters put that out, and maybe I'm wrong, don't care, but whenever you watch Engine Masters, yes, they are smart people. I'm not saying they are not smart people. But when they are talking about a certain product, say a hooker header that they're trying and they're going to beat the shit out of it and mold it to fit.
Yeah.
There's a hooker header banner behind there, and they're trying to prove to you that you can buy that hooker header and you can beat it down. It's just going to be the same thing. Don't worry. Don't worry that the thing don't fit the car like we said for $500 or $800 or $1,000. You can just beat it down to fit it. No, make the son of a bitch fit to begin with. If I'm going to be, why not? And I started looking at those manifolds on that Javelin. Those AMC manifolds that are on that Javelin are perfect runners out of the dog legs in the center and down. It's perfect. So why am I putting headers on it? Displace the heat? Well, it's not a race car.
No, for what you're doing, you don't need the headers on it. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the headers, but it's all dependent on how much power you're going to make with the engine. How much do you have to flow? That's what it comes down to. And if you're not going to make enough power to justify it, then it's just an extra cost. It might sound a little different, though. That's what.
Yeah, I mean it does. I didn't have to put headers on my my Cutlass, but it had that motor come out of a Torino, or not a Torino, what do you call it? An old Tornado. So it had the weird, I don't know, weird setup on it. So I took them off and I just went ahead and put headers on it. But I didn't have to move. I didn't have to do anything to the headers. The headmans fit perfectly down in there. I didn't have to change them. The only thing I had to do is move the brake block. I moved it up away from the frame so they weren't hitting the frame when it went through. And I never understood putting headers on everything if you're not racing it. What are you doing? You're going to go rev it up to prove to some chick that you're cool because it sounds this way or that way? You're literally gaining nothing. If you really think about it, you're gaining absolutely nothing. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be crazy, but I don't see the trouble it causes, because I actually went through 3 different sets of headers on that frickin' Mustang that Skylar drives before they fit.
Yeah.
I wasn't about to beat the hell out of $300 headers. I just bought these things. I already got to strip all the shit paint off of them. And now you're telling me after I painted them up nice, I got to beat them to fit? I don't understand that part.
Yeah, B&R pretty much nailed it there. If you're doing 450 plus horsepower, then you got to start looking at the headers, right?
Yeah.
It's and proper dual exhaust as well. It's just, I don't know. I'm one of those weird guys that I only spend the money if I have to, and stuff like, for example, a lot of people put a ton of money into their stereos. Like some of these stereos in these cars are worth more than the car. And I'm like, if it plays music and I can hear it, I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, that damn Mustang, he's got the whole hatch of it is nothing but speaker.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't put it in, by the way. I did.
Yeah. Well, when you have to start upgrading your alternator and putting multiple batteries in to power your stereo, that's going a little far for me.
Well,
now, some people like that, but
that's the same with me with electric fans. I would rather lose 5 horse and have the fan just blowing the hell out of air in that engine compartment than have a couple electric fans bogging my electrical system.
Yeah.
And the reason I was never so hard about electric fans until I went on Power Tour last year and watched everybody breaking down because their fans burn up, their alternators burn up, fan belts, you name it. The alternator belt and everything. I was just like, no way. And I'll lose a few horsepower running a mechanical fan.
Oh. That's interesting. I never really considered that, but yeah, I can see how that would, because you're really starting to tax the system when you get into the hot weather.
Especially when these people put these on old hot rods.
Yeah.
You put them on, like somebody put those on Blanche before I got it. I even tried those things without the mechanical fan. I tried them without the mechanical fan on that new motor. It wouldn't even come close to keeping that engine to where it sits. I shut them off. They're still on it. I shut them off and put the mechanical back on it, cooled it right down, blew my hat off. When I started the engine. I was standing there with the hood up. It blew my freaking hat off. I was like, yeah, I'll just lose the fuel.
There is actually a talk, going back to Engine Masters. There's an episode where they tested all the different fans and how much horsepower they rob. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that now.
Yeah, it's unless you're doing 1/8 and 1/4 miles at a time and going and shutting it down, letting it cool with the fans going. We did that whole Power Tour last year, and that somehow, again, with that engine the way it was, and it never overheated once, but it was happy at about 200 degrees. 200, 205 degrees. That sucker stayed there the whole time. It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's hot. It got up to 220 once, and that was climbing a hill going into Birmingham, Alabama. Other than that, not once. Stayed cool the whole time. Hotter than hell on the feet, but it was, it stayed pretty well. The engine stayed good the whole time. I never had a problem with it.
Well,
And I
they
got
both
blamed.
they both have their advantages and disadvantages, right? There's no doubt that the mechanical fan can move a lot of air, and it does route some power. But it's one of those things that the more RPM the engine's producing, the more air that fan's going to move.
Yeah.
And where now the electric fans, like you said, is you can actually leave them on, and if you have an electric water pump as well, you can keep the coolant circulating while the engine's shut off.
It
But
has advantages.
it does have its advantages, and if you're going to be doing some racing and stuff, I can see why you'd want that.
Yeah.
Just and if you're sitting in traffic a lot, that's where they seem to fail for some reason. But if you're sitting in traffic, in theory, that's when the electric fan should be a lot more efficient, because they can sit there and spin at high speeds at low engine RPM and pull more air through, in theory. But it never seems to work that way.
Well, I noticed another thing everybody does whenever they switch to electric fans, they get rid of the shroud.
That's the key right there, and that's the big mistake.
You need to leave that shroud on there.
Yeah, they always.
Otherwise, you're just blowing air to the roof or to the hood.
You're not channeling it through you're not pulling it through the rad at that point as much. You need that tunnel to pull it through the rad and get the coolant to cool down.
And this is me coming from, the poor man's way of doing it too. Not so much, when you get all these fancy, cooling radiators with all the fancy fixings and all their crap. Hey, if you can afford all that crap and it works good for you, you can afford your electrical system being upgraded. I'm talking about a car I pulled out of the weeds and I'm putting it right back on the road the way it was. It ran fine for them all through the 70s and 80s and 90s, and I didn't have no problem. I even my old street racer, I had that Mustang mechanical fan. It even had a fan clutch on it.
Yep. Well, Dan, you're right. Most electric fans do have their own shroud, but for some reason, people don't use them. I don't know why.
Yeah, they will literally take that. Like you'll get them, and they'll have the whole case of the dam or the core of the radiator be covered with two fans in it. Yeah. And that's it. That's the only air that moves. They'll take that off. Oh no, it'll move more when you go down the road. My dad didn't like electric fans either. He said the only way to cool them down is you got to get them out and get some wind on them. Get out there and hit the gas. Get them out there, and electric fans you couldn't do that. Electric fan's only going to give you what it's going to give you. To where the motor and the fan design, when they came from the factory, was designed to do it that way, and that's how it cooled down. And I don't know. I'm not totally against electric fans. I'm just saying, in my experience, especially last year, one of the hottest years, it worked out well to just have a straight. I don't even have a fan clutch on that Javelin. That's mechanical. That's completely direct drive. She moves some air. You can hear it when you're giving her the gas.
Yep. Well, I think part of that is exactly what we were discussing earlier about some of the U.S. made versus the Chinese made. These Chinese parts are rated at us, but half the time you test them and they'll never achieve what they're rated to. So I think that's probably the case with a lot of these electric fans. They look good, but are they performing how they should be performing? Probably not.
No. Those fans were named by throwing spoons down a wooden stairs. Ting, ting. I'm sorry. That was terrible.
And on that note, thanks everyone. It's been nice being
right
out here.
You get no monetization on this one. Right now, there's some, guy sitting there looking at. Oh, really?
Yeah. There's that big red button. Ding.
Yep. The old funny maggot.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, that's the problem. Like, don't get me wrong, there is some stuff in that's made in China that's just fine. It's good stuff. They got some quality control processes in place and whatnot, and it's usually an American company that's gone over there, and they've put some of their quality people in place to make sure that their stuff still gets made to a decent standard. But it's hit or miss, man. It really is with a lot of that stuff. So there's certain things that it's okay to buy Chinese that, and it's really not going to have a big effect on your performance. But for example, tires, I would not buy if I'm looking for good performance tires. I wouldn't buy the Chinese tire. You're
Yeah.
not doing that. They're just not made to the same standards as the ones made in Italy's, the ones made in the U.S. And a good example of that is like the Goodyear Eagle GSs, because you can get them made in those three different places. You can get the US made ones, you can get the Italian made ones, and you can get the Chinese made ones.
Right.
And they all look the same, but they certainly do not perform the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look, my kid's leaving. He wants me to put that Mustang on. I know. You got to be over here to work on it with me. I'm not doing it on my own. I was going to say, talking to Chinese parts, I was searching for, like I said earlier, I was searching for an Edelbrock 1403 at 500 CFM, for that Javelin. Yeah. I came across an entire line of Chinese knockoff Edelbrocks for half the price.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking, do I try it? for actually to test it.
What?
Will this thing work? But then I'm thinking, here I am talking to Edelbrock about stuff. Oh, that might be bad.
What you can do is you can do a comparison.
That's what the plan is.
Yeah, so you get that and you compare it to the actual Edelbrock and you see what the difference is. Now, it'd be great to have something like that on like an Engine Masters or something as well, where they can actually do the CFM flows and everything else through these things to see what you're doing, but you can still do a test with real world numbers and performance data, right?
I think it'd kind of like be knockoff heads, Chinese aluminum heads where they have imperfections in this, that, and the other. Yeah. Well, but the thing about that is if it's an imperfection that doesn't hurt the fact that you're daily driving or just going out and riding around, you're not running down the track. I always want to buy American. I try, but I just can't. Yeah, I'm not loaded. I'm not rich.
Exactly.
That's the thing. And I thought about buying one of these things. They don't make a 500. They make a 600. But all the Edelbrock aftermarket stuff that you can buy for them, like say, just your normal shit, your accelerator pumps and all that stuff, it's all identical. And I thought about buying one and just sticking it on there. And honestly, I thought about doing it on Power Tour. Here's my 500 CFM Edelbrock, and here's my whatever 600 CFM, China, and just seeing what happens. Kind of like what Luke did with the lawnmower carb and his Holly 4-barrel.
Yeah.
I mean, he lost a lot of performance, but he got hellacious fuel mileage, and the thing ran great. I ran with him the whole Power Tour. It was fun. Yeah. It's like.
But
that is something that Engine Master should do, is run a lawnmower carb or a setup of lawnmower carbs like Weber's.
Yeah.
To see what they do. That would be neat.
Well, but he also had to do something else besides just the carburetor. Didn't he have to put some type of management system on there to make that like?
He's got a fuel. What the hell was that he put on there? The dude Luke is brilliant. By the way, if you ever get to talk to him, come from a trailer park, but he makes his own. I don't even remember what he calls them. It's some kind of computer controlled, carb system.
Yeah, it's an engine management system. Yeah.
But he makes them himself.
Yeah.
He actually sent me, because we have a one of them 3D printers. He sent me his program he uses and the stuff to make that carb plate to fit a lawnmower carb. He sent me the stuff. I can make
Really?
it. And, you know,
Nice.
I'm not going to, this is just, you know, riding coattails is what it makes it feel like. He goes, oh, I don't care. So I was with him the whole time, but it just, the kid's brilliant. I say
Oh yeah.
kid, he's a hell of a lot younger than us. But
Yeah.
he's a carb guy. And I thought about it. I should send him a message and say, hey, I want to try out this Chinese freaking knockoff Edelbrock, because he's a Holly guy anyway. He don't like Edelbrock, but
Yeah.
that'd probably actually be a pretty good thing just to see what I ought to get one just to see what it'll do.
Well, it's funny. It seems to be two schools there. There's the people that like the Edelbrock carbs and the people that like the Holly carbs. And me, I don't like carbs, period. I like fuel injection. But when it comes to carburetors, I prefer the Edelbrocks. And it's because of the type of driving I prefer to do. I don't race a lot. So the Holly is a better race carburetor, but the Edelbrock's a better
Sure.
street carburetor.
Well,
And
the new Edelbrock is a monster.
yeah, that's an
That
impressive
thing,
carb. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
But
I like
traditional,
Holly. I just
they're
I'm
finicky.
tired of the garbage they're putting out.
Yeah, I find that the Hollies are very finicky. You're constantly having to play with them.
Yeah. I got a
And
whole damn setup of cams and jets and, you know, squirters and all that crap where, yeah, I can do all that stuff. I've got an older Holly 750 double pumper out here I could use, but I like the fact that, you know, when I'm doing this stuff with this channel, what if it's, you know, Bob, who works at a steel mill, who wants to just get his damn old Camaro running?
yeah,
He ain't gonna go wanting to do all that. I don't know all that crap. Then he's sitting on YouTube for 7 hours a night trying to figure out which cam he needs and which hole to stick it in, and, you know, put the screw in and do all that
yeah,
crap.
yeah,
When he can just go to O'Reilly's or wherever, or Riley's rebuilds, and grab a freaking Edelbrock, make sure his CMF numbers are about right, go click, click, click. Oh, good enough. It'll run.
yeah,
Yeah, you can performance it out with needles and, you know, all that crap, but it'll run. Javelin runs. It runs
yeah,
fine. It's just,
yeah,
I know that I could get it to perform better if I lower it down to where it needs to be.
yeah.
Because that thing's
Well,
only supposed to have like a 390 or a 400.
yeah.
It
Have
ain't
a good
built
night,
for that.
Pauline. Um, well, yeah, that's the thing. But uh,
See you, Colleen.
carburetors, yeah, carburetors are interesting because you have all these different sizes, CFM flows and stuff like that. But it's just an air valve in the end, right? It helps meter the fuel in the air. So in theory, if you set even a very large carb onto a small engine, you could get the carburetor would work fine if you set it up right.
Yeah.
But it would be very temperamental because I mean the amount of volume that it lets dumps into that engine would just be a lot more. I guess it'd be a lot bigger volume changed opening the blades than if you had the smaller CFM carb. So it's a little more finicky to set a bigger carb onto a smaller engine. But in
Right.
theory, you should be able to make a big carb work on a small engine as long as you set it up right.
Right. Well, it's like, you know, go back to Engine Masters. For some reason, any motor they have there, 850 XP, great big
Yep.
ass carburetors, two of
Yep.
them on tunnel rams going, what?
Yeah.
Who the hell's doing that driving around on the street?
Yeah. You don't.
You know, I mean,
That and for what they're doing, that's fine because you're doing one of two things: you're warming up the engine, or you're going wide open.
pretty much.
It's
Well,
so
this
it's
Carter that goes on this Buick that I got ordered, it's, you know, it's the original Edelbrock.
yeah,
So it has the metering valves. It has all that shit. It's all just like an Edelbrock, and that's kind of why I went ahead and bought the new one. Not $250 cheaper. just to put the Tomco rebuild on it. We sell those at Dust & Sons where I grew up. Never had any problem with them. So UPS is the problem now.
Yeah.
I've had such good luck with them.
Well, yeah, it's they're all kind of hit and miss. I don't know. It's honestly, it's impressive to me. Yeah, I know sometimes we complain about it nowadays, but how quickly you can actually order parts and get them to your door, or at least uh, how quickly it was pre-COVID. Anyways, it's starting to come back a little bit now, but it's amazing because as well as I do what the cost used to be to get parts if you had to custom order parts. Have a good one-eyed cat. Um, it was astronomical to get parts shipped to you, and there was actually a reason to have your local stores. But they've flipped the tables on that, and you got all these big central warehouses that have so much volume that they get all these inexpensive parts, and they've worked out dealings with the shipping companies, and it's so much cheaper to just shop online now. And sometimes you get the parts in 1 or 2 days even, and that's just regular freight. But if you're working on a project and you just have to wait a week, but that every time, yeah, it's not a big deal if you plan around it.
Yeah. No, I've actually got too big a carburetor on that little 308 that's in Skylar's Mustang. It's the 600. It's too big. That is way too big for that car. It should be like a 500 or, probably smaller. This 304, I called Edelbrock. I actually called Holly. I called Summit. I called, there was a couple of other ones. I got them all written down, and every one of them said you would get better performance out of that 304 if you took that 4-barrel intake off and threw a 2-barrel back on it, like a 390, the Motorcraft or Autolite or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
It'd run just as good, if not better. And I believe him. It runs fine. I took it that carburetor was on it for 2,000 miles on Power Tour. It ran fine. Went to No Name Nationals, ran like crap. Because we found out that the motor was.
Yeah, the motor was. I don't think that was the carburetor's fault.
That sucker was done. But it's just like I don't know, when you wax into the 4 barrels, the motor don't catch power until the fuel and the the fuel air mixture gets right in that. I could try probably 50 different metering rods in that thing and it still wouldn't make a difference. A lot of people say, oh, just get a big one, then bring her down. No, you can still get too much air no matter what you do.
Yeah, you can. But
500 is actually still too big for that, but it's got to run better than that 600. Definitely.
But again, this is where I like the fuel injection. Yes, you can get more power out of a carburetor. You can get more peak power, I should say. But the drivability from fuel injection is so much superior to a carburetor.
Right.
Especially where I live, I can easily find myself in the mountains. And when you're going through the mountains and the carb's set up for a lower altitude, then you start going through the mountains, you start getting issues, right? And then you come down the mountain, so you could be possibly tuning this car because you're talking like thousands of feet change in altitude driving from here to BC, and that can make a big performance difference on your car when you're trying to get through. Whereas the fuel injection just sits there and compensates for it. It's not a big deal.
Right. I thought about putting one on this Javelin just for fun.
Yeah.
I'm not against fuel injection. I've never messed with it. And being that's a daily, she literally drives that every day. Well, until you get Artemis, that'll be her daily driver. But I thought about putting the Phytech on it.
Okay.
Just to try it because Phytech, it's still budget minded. It's not like holy shit Holly cost. And I could get that one where it's got that external pump and reservoir where it'll just feed off of your pump.
Yes.
And it pressurizes the line to the car. And I know Holly makes one too, but This is all one kit. It's, you know, $1,200-1,300. You know, a good carb now is what, 500 CFM is actually more expensive than a 6 because I don't know why. It takes less money, but they're in less demand.
Yeah.
So, okay, wait another month and spend an extra couple $100 on a Bitech system, stick it on there. Thought about it. Still thinking about it, but it's like I need to try it because sooner or later probably going to stop making carburetors.
I think they'll be around for a long time yet. But again, it's what you're used to and what you're after. Like for me, it's one of the first time I ever opened up, dug into fuel injection was on a 280ZX. And I opened up the hood on that thing and I went, oh my God, what is all this? There's vacuum lines and wires running everywhere under that little inline 2.8 liter. And I decided, well, I got to do this. I got to work on it. And when I got into it, I realized it wasn't as bad as it seemed. And from there, I started playing with it a little bit more and more and more. And now I just really prefer personally over the carburetors. I've never been great with tuning a carburetor. It's just not my thing. Some people, they're wonderful at doing it. And you can get one dialed in and it works. Carb's fine. It works great. The one thing I will say about a carb is even if it doesn't work properly, you can usually get the engine running.
Yeah.
If you, let's say it's got a bad power valve or something in it, yeah, it might not accelerate power properly, but you can get it to idle, you can get it to run, you can drive it a little bit. Or maybe the choke doesn't work properly or whatever, right? You can get the thing to run. Whereas the fuel injection, if there's something wrong with the wiring or whatever, it's just not going to run. You know? Is it now? I told you I'm Canadian. I talk different. Z.
Yeah. No,
Zed.
I just need to get less airflow is what I need to get. It needs to have a little bit less airflow in it. And I'm going to try it. And if it don't work, you know, if I can get a little bit better performance. I mean, the thing, even with that garbage engine in it, it got 14 mile a gallon. So I'm not all thinking performance here. I'm thinking performance as in all around longevity, reliability, all that kind of crap. So if I can just bring it down a little bit, see if I can get it to match up, because I had a 600 Holly on there and I jetted that thing down to, it wouldn't run my freaking Craftsman riding mower. And it was bad. I went up, down. I went every which way you could think of, different power valves, I could not get that thing to, it was too big. And I didn't realize it. And, you know, an Edelbrock's got a little bit easier to deal with. And it ran good as long as it did. But then after I put this new motor in it and I drove it around, and I've drove it around town a few times, it runs good. But when you really want to punch in on it, it's just too much. It can't handle it.
Well, the funny thing about carbs is most people think 2 barrels when it comes to an economy car, but the actual truth of it is a 4 barrel is actually more economical than a 2 barrel.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Because the primaries are a lot smaller on a 4 barrel.
Yeah, people can never understand. I used to have that Fox body that I used to race around all the time. Had a built small block Ford in it, and it had a Holly 4 barrel. I can't remember what size. I think it was a 650.
Yep.
Something like that. Well, it wasn't the stock one. It was a 650 double pump, I think. Might have been a 670. I don't know. Anyway, I would go to St. Louis and back, which is 110 miles. This goddamn car's getting 22 to 25 mile a gallon.
Yeah.
But then I'd go to the racetrack and I'd run, 7, 8, whatever, in an eighth of a mile, or out here on the street, and it would get like 5 mile a gallon.
Yep.
And everybody, keep your damn foot out of it. Don't open those secondaries, and that thing will just cruise.
Yeah, it'll just cruise. But as soon as those secondaries open up, it starts
It was
clicking.
like the wheels came up and the freaking fuel gauge went down. That's how it was.
Yeah.
What? Oh yeah, that right there, that
Yeah.
500 Ollie. That's
Yeah.
what's on my Bronco. That was a circle track carb that they took off their circle track racer and put it on a 351 Windsor in that Bronco that had that what was that crap, that Motorcraft variable Venturi. They took that crap off there and they stuck this 2 barrel on there, and holy crap, that thing, it is a burnout machine, and it's got some big ass 32s on it. I mean, they make big compared to nowadays, but it's sitting out there posi tracking with me and Zeppy in it, smoking up a storm.
Do you see two hacks there? He gets 5 miles a gallon. I don't doubt it. Have you seen the size of your car and the size of the engine?
Well, the gears in that thing, where are you going to drive it to? Just to the corner and back?
No, he'll run out of gas doing that. Well, I sure hope he gets it to no name this year because it'd be nice to see that sucker run.
Yeah, I'd like to see it too. One of these days, I'll just have to stop in there and look at it. He's just north of me.
Oh, is
Like
it?
50 miles. Yeah, he ain't that far from me. In fact, Jeff, if he ain't doing nothing tomorrow night, come down to Effingham. I'm playing. I could use the support.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd come watch if it wasn't so dang far away.
Yeah, it'd be quite a drive.
Yeah. It's going to be bad enough doing it once
You're
a year.
a rich YouTuber, man. Just hop in the old whirly
Oh,
game.
yeah.
Hang on down there.
Yeah, no.
Have them fire up the helicopter.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Funny you mentioned that. I've been thinking about that lately. I should get a helicopter's pilot license just because I want it. Yeah, that'd be
I'm
fun.
going to try to set the record the second year for No Name Nationals. I'm already going to try to set a record. I'm going to see if I can have the most cars there ever in, the second year.
Okay, nice.
Which I think I had 2 last year. I think I was the only one that had 2. I mean, if you count Blake and the guys, they're all, one channel. But I actually had 2 cars there. Nivlak, they had it. They had 2 cars, right?
Yeah, I suppose you could count Big Block as having 2. I mean, I was driving one of his cars, but he certainly had his truck. He had Candy Gain, and I had the Mustang. So Nivlak, yeah, he had 2. There's a couple there too.
My actual plan is I want to put the Buick in the bracket racing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just to have some fun. Because, I mean, last year while everybody's racing, I'm just kind of walking around and leisurely put those freaking arm bushings on that ambulance. I didn't really do anything. I just kind of walked around.
Now, speaking of bracket racing, did you hear the news today? There's a bounty on Mopar Joe. Yeah.
I seen that.
It's almost up to $500 last I heard.
Yeah, I ain't gonna do that with a 340 Buick.
So, you never know.
I mean, if you think about it, 318 Real Run was in a friggin' van, and he made it to
that was a great race, wasn't it? That's so close. It's so funny because you could have gone for a coffee and walk the dog and everything else. The distance between 318 and just Mopar Joe, and he took off, right?
God, could you imagine if Joe would have red lighted?
Oh man,
that would have been like, are you kidding me? That'd be my thing. I'll get down the last line. I got the slowest car in the property, and red light.
Yeah.
Got no trans brake. I got no nothing. All I got to do is sit at the light and hit the gas.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe is consistent, man. He is
Hell of a good dude
consistent.
too. To
Oh, he
boot.
is.
So,
Fantastic guy. Well, everyone there was really good to talk
oh
to.
yeah,
It was so much fun, man. I can't wait to do it again. And I'm going to be trying to bring 2 cars this year. I want to bring 3, but I don't think I'm going to be able to pull that off. I'll be lucky if I get 1 going. So
so yeah.
manage your
Somebody drive one
expectations.
down or just tow one behind the Trans Am.
Yeah.
Ollie. Hey, that's
Well,
what Dan did last year for Power Tour. He freaking took his truck and loaded that 55 on the. He had it on a damn tow dolly, all the way
whoa.
to. Where did he drop that thing at? I think he started in Nashville, and then drove it to Memphis. I can't remember, but they're coming down. He's bringing his Nomad down here this year,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
it starts in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So,
Well, he sure likes to complain about that Nomad.
oh, I
Don't get one of these. There's all
Holy-
special parts. It sucks.
yeah. Buy the wagon.
Yeah, by the way, and yeah,
Buy the wagon.
I've only ever met him once, and that was up here in Medicine Hat. Nice guy though, super nice guy.
Oh, he's cool as hell. We were down
Yeah.
in first time I met him was where the hell were we? We were in maybe it was Nashville. No, it wasn't Nashville. It was Hoover, Alabama.
Okay.
That's where I met him the first time I talked to him, and then we caught up again in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Him and Danny. Just super cool dude.
Yeah, he is. And she's great too. Nice lady, nice guy. Funny thing is, I actually know his cousin very well because I worked with him,
Oh yeah.
and I didn't realize it was his cousin until I hadn't seen him in probably 15 years. This guy, and then we just decided to have an old work get together. So a bunch of us that used to work. Oh, good night, halfwit. So got to working about. We got to dinner with these guys and just to catch up with some old work colleagues and got to talking and stuff. And I was talking about the YouTube channel and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got a cousin that does that out in Manitoba." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, what's he do?" "Oh, he's into car stuff." I'm like, "Oh yeah." And we got talking a little bit and he's like, "Yeah, he does all this stuff with the 55 Chevys and stuff like that." I'm like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah. Well, we already know who that is. There's only one in Canada that does that.
Yeah. It's like, well, your cousin isn't DD Speed Shop, is it? He's like, "Yeah, that's him."
Yeah. He's hilarious. That engine build on the floor.
That was awesome.
I emailed them. I said, "Now you're trying to steal my gig. You need to stop. Well, at least you can take some of the hate away from me whenever I do the filling station rebuild." He got so much hell over that.
Yeah, did he?
I was watching some of the comments. I was like, wow, okay, somebody's got it worse than I do whenever I
Wow.
do these things. I have done that before. I've literally got something loose, took the heads off, spun it to where, it wouldn't get past the spot, or after you did, back her all the way down, and I'd run that stone hone I had. I'd just go through it and then take some Scotch-Brite, get in there, start right up.
Well, that's the thing.
My dad used to do that with tractors that sat for 50 years,
Exactly. Like, if you want something to run perfect, sure, go spend the time on it. But if you just want it to run, it doesn't have to be great, man. It's amazing what these things will run like. And as a matter of fact, a video I have planned for the future is I'm going to take a modern Hemi. I got a whole bunch of scrap modern Hemis out here. Various failures, like some have dropped valve seats, some have, blown a rod out the side of the block or something like that. Some just different failures. Some of them, the cams got wiped out. And the plan is to take all these bad parts and make one good engine. And I'm going to reuse everything I can. And that means even reuse the head gasket just to prove the point of this is how resilient these things are.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go stick it in something and go beat the hell out of it and see how long it lasts.
Well, that's like I got hell for reusing the intake gasket on that 304.
Why?
It's a valley pan. They're made to reuse. That's the point. It's all metal.
Yeah.
You just spray them down. I did put silicone around every thing because I knew I wasn't going to take it back off. I was like, I'm leaving it on here.
Yeah.
And I get hell for that. I used to reuse head gaskets, spray them down with copper coat.
Yep.
Throw them right back on.
Yep.
I reuse head bolts.
Yep. Well, certain engines you can't.
Like yeah. I mean, you can't really do that on newer stuff at all.
No. Well, the Hemis you can, but the LSs you can't.
Right. Now, you can't reuse them on the 4.6 and 5.4 Tritons either. You got to replace every bolt on those damn things.
Yeah. It's funny because the LS engines, you can't reuse the head bolts, but you can reuse connecting rod bolts. The Hemis, you can reuse the head bolts, but you can't reuse the connecting rod bolts. Now, in theory, the connecting rod bolts on the Hemis, you can get possibly up to three torques out of them, 3 torque cycles. But all this stuff you have to check with stretch. Now, I would never risk using the LS head bolts because just the torque that they go to and the material they're made out of, you're going to hit the yield every time using those things. The Hemi bolts, they're torque to angle. They're not torque to yield. So you don't actually hit the yield point on those. And you'll see a lot of stuff on the internet about that. But I've reused them lots of times. But that's to say, whether the other thing is about them, if you're not comfortable doing it, just go buy a new set. It's $50.
Yeah, they're not that much.
They're not that much. So and if you want to sit there and yell at me because I use them, my engine's running fine for 2 years. That's your issue, man, not mine.
Yeah, these old iron engines like this, they weren't made. You didn't. No,
they weren't made.
Head bolts.
That's right.
They were already built for you. You just always had to make sure you put something on the actual thread and underneath the head. You do that, they'll be fine.
There you go.
But I got shit for that on the 304 too. Why did you buy AARP or AARP? Why did you buy ARP heads, bolts, and this, that? And I'm like,
why?
They didn't do that shit in the 70s. You didn't just go to their, what you doing? Hitting your adding machine, ordering you up some ARP bolts?
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
you used what you had.
Actually, you can get yourself in trouble doing that because, again, let's say you take the stock rod bolts out and you use the ARP bolts. You've now increased the clamping force and you've now distorted your caps.
Yeah.
So now you're going to have your bearing wear. So if you're going to do that, you have to go get your rods resized.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, if I was going to build, like even this 402 that I'm going to build for this square body, it ain't going to stray far from stock. It's going to add some pep to it and it'll have a backbone, but it ain't going to be far from stock. It's going to have all the original stuff. Those got the oval port heads on it. It's got everything, 72.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to build it up the way it is, throw some cam in it, better springs, maybe throw some rockers on it, something like that. I might even throw a roller cam and stuff in it. But I'm going to be crazy. I'm going to put direct drives on it and noisy direct drives. The way when Amber's driving it down the street, all you hear is
it's a rock crusher transmission.
Jesus Christ, fix your damn Ford power steering pump.
Yeah.
Running that thing, a 460.
Yeah. Well, see, I got to catch up on some of the 2Hack stuff because I started watching his LS engine build when he revealed it, but I haven't watched him since the reveal, so I got to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, I do too. I haven't been able to watch nothing. I have been working so much.
Yeah, same. Well, I've had so much going on. I haven't even had a chance to make my own videos lately, so this is about all I've been able to do is get on some lives once in a while and watch the lives we get to.
I've got 2 I got to edit. I got the rest of the Javelin stuff, and I got this Buick. I was going to make another one on the Buick tomorrow, but Ain't got a carburetor.
Mm-hmm.
So, use, here's a video of me putting in a radiator.
Thanks, John.
I do got all the stuff for the brake system though.
Oh, that's good. All right.
And it's just because the rubber lines are toast.
Well,
They won't even the brake master cylinder is good. It's actually old school with the bleeders right on the master cylinder.
oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah. So it's old school original. I did order me a new one, but if I get that sucker to work, I ain't touching it. I'm leaving it alone. But I'm gonna have that. I got all new wheel cylinders and lines, and then I'll start working on the body. Once it's running and driving, then I'll start working on the body.
Yeah. Well, now I will make a point here. Going back to our earlier conversation, where a carburetor will allow an engine to run even if the carburetor is not working properly. So you could always get that thing fired up and change the carb later. It's nice that the engine's not locked up in it, though.
I can borrow one of my other carburetors, throw it on there, and make it work. The problem is, when I get the video done, you'll see it. The way that intake is designed, it has a narrow bolt pattern on that intake.
Yeah.
And the Hollies only have the one pattern, and it's the bigger one. Yeah. So I'd have to take one of my Edelbrocks off one of the other cars, and I'm not even going to listen to it if I try to take it off Artemis. And then it leaves the one that's on Javi, which I'm going to change it anyway. I got to change a bunch of stuff. So I may take that one off of there and bring it out there and get it running. But I am going to put the original style carburetor back on that car.
Well, I suspect if you try to take it off of Artemis, you'll find yourself in the back of Artemis.
Probably. Or strapped behind it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see you back there, hon.
Yeah.
I'm too short. Where's my backup beeper and stuff? Didn't you hear me coming?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
well,
yeah.
Jay, I'm gonna say thanks for having me on. I'm gonna have to call it a night, though.
I've been on for how long? We've been on? Hour and a half is long enough. For God's sakes, I'm getting old. Go to bed.
But happy St. Patty's Day to
everyone. You too.
Had to wear the proper attire for you tonight.
Yeah.
That's all.
I'm probably going to get out of here too. I appreciate you guys all watching over here. Trying to pay attention to everybody. But I'm going to get up in the morning and I got to play tomorrow night. So I got to get as much done tomorrow morning as possible.
Yeah, I got to go do some car stuff tomorrow. So.
It's supposed to be 8 degrees too here. So
8 degrees.
8 degrees.
Oh, 80.
8.
That's cold.
Yeah.
That's really cold.
Yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. It's 31 here right now.
That's colder than what it will be here tomorrow.
It's Illinois.
Well, good luck with that.
If you think it's cold tomorrow, just wait. It'll be 90 the next day.
Yeah.
But I better get going.
Have a great night.
Y'all take care.